All right, it's your Common Sense Catechist here, John, and actually I'm in a car and coming here today to talk all things knowledge. Again, we talk about the idea of sensia, science, meaning knowledge, and all knowledge coming from the Lord. So here we are today, and as I'm sitting in this car, I reflect upon 23 years of driving behind the wheel and thinking about all the students that I've encountered and saying, if you want to make a difference in life, and of course, as a teacher, you're always like, well, I'm going to make a difference. But that doesn't always happen that way. And so it's interesting that one of the things I think have actually made a difference is in this part of my life and actually driving. And just by giving whatever knowledge I can, limited though it is, to each one of these students and to help him or her to understand. I always tell students driving is probably the most dangerous legal activity you're going to partake of in your life, and you're going to be doing it for decades. And it's something practical. It's something you can put your hands around, and some of those things that can help you out. And it's funny because when I encounter students and we talk about the test, I teach toward the test, and I tell them this is what you need for the test. And I actually say to them in a joking way, when you take this test, there is basically a cop sitting next to you, and he or she is going to see everything you do and know everything that you do. So if you go 3 miles over the speed limit, they can fail you. If you don't look over your shoulder more than 2 times, smog, they can fail you. And then I thought about it and said, gosh, this is really representative. Of course, being an English teacher, this is really a parallel to our lives in a sense that we have to keep it between the lines. I think that was a country song a long time ago, but it's really true. And when I say to them, once you pass that test, then you can break all the laws that you want. And I jokingly say, no, I don't mean that, but there's not somebody hovering over you. And I think about that in life, that we feel that way, that, oh, I got to be careful. Maybe it's my parents when I'm growing up and they're watching, or my teachers, or whatever it happens to be. But then when I hit adulthood, what a great parallel here. When you hit adulthood, then you're on your own. Then that person sitting next to you is gone. However, if we think deeper about it, that's not the case. God's always there. God's always watching. Always have an audience of one. And we forget that so many times, right? When we think about, well, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and no one's going to watch, and no one's going to see, and no one's going to know. But I think that's why the life of a Christian is so different than everybody else's, because we do know somebody is watching. There's always somebody watching. There's always somebody there. That's why true Christians make the best employees, workers, because we do this for the love of the Lord, and knowing we don't want to defraud our employer, but we want to make sure that we're doing those things that are always appropriate in His sight. And so as I was sitting here, I was thinking about that, and the idea of the parallel to our life, and what advice I can give, and those kind of things, in something as simple as driving. And so here I am driving, and helping this student to understand how he or she can be a part of this. And I think that that's really a neat thing. So I've been doing that for a number of years. But that parallel continues on. I always tell the students, in order to be a successful driver, defensive driver, you have to expect mistakes. And I always tell them, not your mistakes, but everybody else's. And again, if we want to widen that parallel, think about that in life. We have to understand life's not going to work well, not going to go the way that we planned. And let me tell you, in my life, I can tell you that is definitely the case. After 52 years of life here, it gets to be pretty difficult at times, and it's never what you think. It goes back to the book that I wrote, soon to be published, Twinning. The Art of Making God Laugh is just that. Tell God your plans. If you want to make God laugh, tell Him your plans. And when things go bad, expect mistakes, because they will. We also call it Murphy's Law and those kind of things jokingly, but understanding that probably if we're not doing the right thing, then life's going to go smooth for us. But if we are doing the right thing, it's probably not. And of course, I'm dealing with that right now. Things at my home, and an issue that happened, and hopefully it'll get taken care of. But it's one thing after another, and it wears you down sometimes. And you think about, wow, this is crazy, and I just want to give up. But then I remember the advice I give to my students: expect mistakes, not yours, but everybody else's, and the things that happen around you. As long as you're doing the right thing, that's important. However, that doesn't negate what everybody else is going to do around you. And of course, the gift of free will is so powerful and so important. And it is why bad things happen to innocent people. It is why great things happen to others, because we can exercise that free will. And so I need to take a little bit of my own advice when I wonder why things go the way that they do, and they don't go as we planned. Even if you're doing the right thing, even if you're keeping it between the lines, or thinking you're doing the best that you can. Always we can get better, always. And we strive to do that continually, but expecting those mistakes in our lives is really important. And it's funny because I tell students, so when it happens, we don't freak out. We don't keep our eye off the ball and go, wow, I can't believe that happened, can't believe that happened, can't believe that happened. In a sense, what we do in life, we feel sorry for ourselves. And then we don't get back to, as I tell my students, the driving task. And then bad things can really happen to us. Well, think about that in life. If we're not focused on that goal, we can stray, and then we can get into trouble. And I always say jokingly to my students, and when it happens, then you can say, hey, John was right. That does really happen. Instead of focusing on, wow, I can't believe that happened. And this has happened so many times behind the wheel. I can't even tell you in my more than 20 years of doing this. And students will kind of laugh sometimes and go, yeah, I guess you were right. And it's funny because in the same way, in that parallel to our own lives, we see that those things that do happen, even if we're doing the right thing or keeping it between the lines in the way that we see, it doesn't control others and the other things that are going around, and we know that trouble is going to happen. In the readings, for this week, it was about the wheat and the tares, and how Jesus says in the parable, the workers say, hey, let's pull the weeds and get rid of them. And he's like, no, don't do that. Let both grow until the harvest, and then the wheat can be separated from the tares. And what happens to the tares? They get thrown into the fire. And I think about this in the sense of when I get jealous, because I'm a human being at times with other people have, and I go, whoa, wow, that'd be so much easier to have that. Why did they get to prosper? And it's right there. It's that idea that he's going to keep them both going, both growing until that time. And it's our job to keep it between the lines until that very ending. So I just want to share a few thoughts today on those things, because I think that they're important for us to always remember. If you enjoyed what you heard, become a subscriber, like and share with others. If I can share some of that wisdom and knowledge, as I say, I'm the Common Sense Catechist, trying to teach common sense in a biblical and Catholic worldview to show that everything that we know comes from him. So may God bless you, Jesus love you, angel kiss you, and devil miss you.